162. Depending on evil. Chalcedon Report number 112, December 1974. Not only has man, during his long history, distrusted freedom and feared it, but he has also distrusted righteousness. As a powerful American monopolist said of a politician at the beginning of the 20th century, "I like a man who, when you buy him, stays bought." Evil can be depended on to be for sale. This preference for evil has been basic to the diplomacies of states in the modern era. The more evil a state becomes, the more readily it is trusted by the various international powers. A classic example of this is Turkey. By the mid-17th century, over 300 years ago, it was apparent that the Turkish Empire was corrupt and ready to fall if attacked by any major power. Its collapse would have freed the Christians of Central Europe, the Near East, and North Africa. When the powers of Europe realized this weakness of Turkey, they immediately came to its defense. Control of the Dardanelles means control of the Black Sea, the Danube, Central Europe, and the Near East. More shipping and commerce then and now is controlled by this key area than any other point in the world. None were willing to place this power in the hands of even slightly principled power. Turkey alone was, quote, dependable, end quote, because, by its very corruption, it could clearly be bought and controlled. When the Hungarians under Prince Eugene of Savoy shattered Turkey at Zenton in a battle in which 3,000 Turks perished, including the Grand Vizier and 4 other viziers, Europe sprang to Turkey's defence. The result was a treaty hammered out at Karlowitz in 1699. Austria was able to keep 2/3 of Hungary, and the Russians gained Azov and the area north of the Sea of Azov. The peace conference led by Britain and Holland made Turkey the concern and, in a sense, ward of all Europe. In the Congress of Vienna in 1815, this principle was more bluntly formulated. Turkey must never pass into the hands of any one power. However, earlier, in 1774, in the Treaty of Kunchuk-Kainaja, Russia had been able to wrest a concession from Turkey. Turkey promises to protect constantly the Christian religion and churches and allow the ministers of Russia at Constantinople to make representation on their behalf. A check was to be placed on the Turkish savagery towards Christians. This was too much for Europe. In the Crimean War, Europeans, led by Britain, treated the Turks as great and heroic men and fought with them against Russia. And, in 1856, in the Treaty of Paris, Russia was compelled to abandon her religious concern for Christians in Turkey. One result was that Turkey now had a free hand to plan the total extermination of Armenians and other Christians, culminating in the massacre of nearly 2 million Armenians alone in World War I and after. Queen Victoria's hatred of Russia was so intense that she despised Gladstone, the champion of the Christian minorities, and was ready to listen to the Sultan as a brother ruler. Earlier, before Britain's entry into the Crimean War, she had issued an ultimatum in writing to the Prime Minister. "If England is to kiss Russia's feet, the Queen will not be a party to the humiliation of England and would lay down her crown." After World War I, except for Britain this time, the powers conspired to revive Turkey as against Greece, leading to the massacres at Smyrna. The full story of the massacres was suppressed everywhere, and the American High Commissioner at Constantinople, Admiral Mark L. Bristol, sent out anti-Christian reports. Standard Oil, American Tobacco, and Chester Concessions had large commitments in Turkey. In World War II and thereafter, Turkey received huge sums in aid from various powers on both sides, and its role as a necessary power was strengthened. In fact, the break between Stalin and Hitler was a result of their conflict over Turkey. Both wanted it for themselves. In the 1970s, Cyprus or any other area is readily sacrificed rather than allow anyone to touch Turkey. If any power, no matter how slightly principled, should take over Turkey, every modern and Machiavellian state would feel threatened. The thesis is simple. Evil is trustworthy and can be bought and controlled. Better a Turkey, and better a Marxist Russia and a Red China, than freedom there or elsewhere. This is power politics, with its balance of powers ploy, its readiness to deal with corrupt regimes and to treat them with dignity, with its collectivism, its humanism, and anti-Christianity. It governs the modern age and is destroying it. It is becoming its own judgment and nemesis. All its efforts to patch and prop up the decaying international order only aggravate the problem. The shattering of that order will come as the new wine of Christian faith returns, shattering the old bottles. Matthew chapter 9, verse 17. The word of God stands. Except the Lord build the house, they labour in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. Psalm 127, verse 1. The rebuilding of Christendom can only come as men are regenerated and are faithful to the law word of God, only as once again men put their trust in God's law rather than man's evil. The modern motto seems to be, in evil we trust. Men, being themselves evil, can better understand and trust in evil, and will continue to do so as long as they continue in their own depravity. The psalmist said of idolaters who worshipped the evil they imagined and fashioned, they that make them are like unto them, so is everyone that trusteth in them. Psalm 115, verse 8. Where is your trust? What power do you believe dominates the world? God or Satan? Righteousness or evil? You will stand or fall in terms of your answer.